officially call it because it's a work session. I just want to explain the process to everybody in the room before we get started. First off, we're gonna let Brenda and the Capstone group do their presentation. Then when they are finished, we're gonna let council ask any questions they have. And then if there's time, this is only until 7. If there's time, I'm gonna open it up to anybody in the audience that wants to ask questions. So, Brenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For those of you that may not know who I am, my name is Brenda Dreyer, and I serve as the Economic Development Director for Nevada Economic Development Council. So my primary focus is to work with the city of Nevada as well as the volunteers of the NEDC to increase capital investment and focus on community development and ultimately support the business and industry of the community. And so I have tonight, and it was posted on the city's website earlier. I'm going to ask the officers to help distribute this. I have copies, printed copies of the FAQ about the details of the project. So the NEDC Board of Directors, as well as the folks that are representing Capstone, we've worked to hopefully present information regarding some of the questions and the information that's out there regarding this project. So again, we did post this publicly today on the city site. It was in tonight's council packets. And again, this would be a document of the NEDC, which is a private organization funded by investments by both the city and local individuals and businesses. But it was our efforts along with others that actually worked to bring this project to Nevada. So again, it's my pleasure tonight. I'm going to introduce you to Mike Machand. Mike is the CEO of the Capstone Group. And so I'll let him introduce himself, and I'll let him talk a little bit about the Capstone Group in a high-level look at the project they're proposing here in Nevada. Mike is joined by Steve Emerson. Steve is the owner and principal at Aspect Architecture and a well-known architect in the state of Iowa as it really relates to historic preservation and reuse of buildings and rehabilitation for both primarily residential, but some commercial in the Cedar Rapids area. And finally, we'll talk the person that's been coordinating the financing on this project. This is a complicated financing package to pull all of this together. So you'll hear tonight from Denny Howell. It took this project for me to meet Denny Howell, who lives in Ames and does financing all over the country on senior housing projects and multifamily projects. So you're going to get a chance tonight to hear from really the 3 key individuals that are working closely on this project. So with that, Mayor, I will ask Mike Machand to come forward.
Well, good evening. My name is Mike Michaud. I'm head of a group called the Capstone Group. We own 2 skilled nursing facilities in Iowa, and that's all we own. We're exclusively based in Iowa. Guthrie Center is home to the new homestead. It's continuity of care retirement community with independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. And then in Marion, Iowa, a suburb of Cedar Rapids, we own Winslow House, which is a 50-bed skilled nursing facility. And about, 2 years ago this month, the board decided to try to diversify. I don't know if people here are familiar with skilled nursing, but it can be hazardous to your health. The state requires or sets reimbursement rates for Medicaid, I'm sorry. And during COVID, our cost per resident day particularly for nursing increased substantially to where we were losing $65 a day for every Medicaid resident we had in Marion, Iowa. And couldn't do anything about it because the state sets the rate and that's how it was. So we bled a lot of money for about a year. And then in 2023, in July, the rate was reset. And suddenly we were in the black a little bit. And so the board decided to try to diversify into a more stable environment. Our history is to provide housing for those in need. I think it's hard to argue that the elderly, particularly in the skilled nursing home environment, are not in need. But we decided to try to expand ourselves a little bit and to have a more stable base, just for economic viability, frankly. Last year, our revenue was about $10 million. Our earned surplus, since nonprofits don't earn a profit, we earn surplus, was about 3.5%. So we're not gouging, if you will. And we look forward and are very much excited to coming into Nevada. We thought this was a tremendous opportunity. There was this, one inaccuracy in I don't know if it's a newspaper or a magazine, said that it's a for-profit entity. It is not. Nevada Housing is a nonprofit organization. And so I don't know if people here are familiar with nonprofits, but all of the earned surplus or profit that a nonprofit makes has to stay in the nonprofit world. So no one is pulling money out of the community. I regret not being here, I think, at the last meeting, because maybe I could have answered some questions and avoided maybe some misunderstandings. One of the comments I understand from the last meeting was that millions of dollars were going to go out of the community. I don't quite know how that could happen. Roughly 99.6%, I think, of the expense in building this, converting the hospital into 60 apartments, is either going to companies owned and operated in Iowa, or to organizations that produce their product in Iowa, although they might be owned by outsiders. I think 3.5% or so of the expense to do all this is going to companies that are based outside of Iowa, but their products are made here. So there's not a huge capital flight of money going anywhere. And it'll be a pleasure to answer any questions that come up from the council, and afterwards, if there's time, of course, from anyone in the community. I've really been looking forward to this. And I'd like to ask Steve Emerson to come up to talk about the property itself and how it will be converted.
Good evening. I'm Steve Emerson. I got brought into this project because Denny knew both of us and introduced us, and here Mike and I are. This is the type of project I do. I've done probably 20 of these. I do a lot of historic adaptive reuse. Since COVID, we do a lot of office building conversions to apartments because nobody's looking for office. A lot of workforce housing apartments and a lot of brownfields, grayfields type projects. Been doing them since I think I bought my first building in '99. I personally own 50 buildings in Cedar Rapids that have been existing or converted. I used to do projects. I tried doing some stuff in the Chicago area. That was not fun. Done projects all over, but decided I don't like traveling anymore, so I'm staying close to home. And so when Denny introduced us and said, "Hey, Mike really wants to get into this," I'm like, okay, I can be the architect and help him develop this, and his nonprofit can own it. And so we're looking at this. We got a couple other projects potentially in Boone that we're looking at doing. I got approached by the superintendent of schools at Tama because they would like to do similar thing. I'm doing one right now very similar in Cedar Rapids also. Well, I'm doing multiple in Cedar Rapids, but I got a school in Cedar Rapids that's coming up. It's 60 units of housing, and it's basically taking as much as the structure as we can reuse. The roof's in okay shape. We'll have to address it. The walls are great. The 2-story nursing home section, essentially 2 units are becoming one to become an apartment. We're going to reuse as many of those walls and systems that we can. Will be new mechanical, electrical, HVAC systems, plumbing. It'll be I think there's only actually 6, or the fact sheet says 8. I think now it's only 6 2-bedrooms. The rest are 1s or studios. So I think we have 131 parking spots on site now. We were asked to increase that. And we're open to doing a restriction to allowing only half of them to a single occupancy. So the parking's great because we really want to preserve the green space also. Any of those courtyards, we intend on keeping as green space, maybe doing some raised gardens for the tenants. Trying to make it so people can still have pets, go outside, enjoy it, and not just be housed in an apartment waiting to go to work. So. Want to keep it brief? Hopefully we got plenty of time for questions.
Good evening, everybody. Appreciate your time coming here. What I want to do is, my name is Denny Howell. I own Howell Investment Finance. I'm located in Ames. And as Brenda said, I go around the state of Iowa and I go and finance multifamily properties and senior housing. Now, when this project got brought to me, it had a little bit of a sweet spot in my heart. Because first off, I'm a Nevada resident. I was born here. I graduated from Nevada in 1976, and I was raised here, and so I know the community quite well. The hospital is very important to me from that part, because first off, I was born there, as many of you probably were, and also my parents were both members in the what we call the long-term care. Both of them were there at different times. Both of them passed away in that building. So like I said, that building has a special spot to me. When Mike went and brought this building to me, first off, I have financed properties for both Mike and Steve. We've gone through the HUD process on both of them, and that is a very long-term process. It's very difficult, and not everybody can qualify for that process. Both these gentlemen were able to go through the process, and we were able to close those buildings, and they are now financed that way. So we were able to get a lot. So when I found out about the building, I thought, okay, this is where we need to bring Steve in, because like I said, I've financed several properties for Steve over in Cedar Rapids. And I've seen his work firsthand. And so that was the main thing right there. I thought, okay, this would be a perfect combination between Mike and Steve to put some new life in that building. Because I'm afraid on that building coming into town, you need somebody that knows what they're doing to make that building a little bit on the profit side, but also something that you can be proud of. Because the way it is right now, if you people have not been in there, the long-term care side, good shape. Hospital side, clinic, need a lot of work done to it. There's asbestos there that we need to get removed from that. So we need to do different work on the project. And so we had to bring in a special type of financing. That was the work, the tax credits that we're getting from the state. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of asbestos in the building that needs to be encapsulated, taken care of. So there's a lot of work. So even if somebody had, the way the loans go now, with a $10 million type of construction budget total, banks right now, if you don't know it, are very leery on lending property, money for these types of property. They would require about a 35% equity. That means on that it'd be about $3.5 million. Okay, some people might have $3.5 million, but the next question that all the lenders are going to ask you, whether they're local or what, is what's your experience? Have you ever done a rehab project like this? If you haven't, they're going to say, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, but no, thank you. You have to have something, because when you get into a building like this, there is always going to be unknown hassles and projects and problems with that. So that's why we're working on this project. That's where we brought in the experienced people then. So other than that, like I said, I just want to let you know that it's going to be a building you're going to be very proud of, and we look forward to taking any questions.
So I'll have Mike and Steve and Denny stay up here, and we'll be ready depending on what the council has for questions, and we'll get the right person to address that for you.
Fire away, council, whatever questions you have. Now's your chance. Or legal or city administrator.
What kind of steps have you guys taken or thought about when you're thinking about the community surrounding it to make sure that this building is fitting in, or that you have buy-in from the neighbors? Have we had any conversations? Have you guys had any conversations with any of the neighbors?
In going through the, I've spoken with some, as a short answer. The city code calls for a 4-inch barrier between a parking lot and any adjacent homes, which would be subject to cars' lights at night. And I've spoken to all of the neighbors who would be affected by that. One said absolutely not. She does not want a fence because she likes the activity that takes place there day and night. And another neighbor said absolutely they do want a fence. And so we're happy to conform. Aside from that, I really haven't spoken with anybody, but I know letters went out to all, and here we are.
So to answer the context question, we did look at the city, the neighborhood, and for apartments, and the type of development, the unit mix, really it's geared towards, our hope is, and you can never tell who moves into these places, but our hope is that we get in, people that are older that want to move out of their home, have a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom to live here. And that frees up the home. So Novato actually has a home for sale, because you guys really don't have any houses for sale. And then the others, a lot of industry, a lot of companies here that people just don't live here. So getting the younger people coming out of college that are going to start working to come in, rent a 1-bedroom or studio that's maybe less rent, but still on market rate rent, so they can dip their toe and start their career and then migrate from there. So like I said, I own several of these, and they're normally pretty quiet facilities. The traffic is going to be much reduced from when it was a hospital. The parking, you guys' parking ordinances are really strong, just so you know. Most are 1 to 1.5 per unit. So you'll have plenty of spots. You won't have people taking up the street parking. And frankly, you're not going to see a lot of activity except for people going to work, coming back, or working from home even too. So.
Just want to thank you all for being here today and to answer questions for us and also for the general public. I think it's very important that everyone hears these details. Can you speak to any conversations about property management, who it might be, what that might look like?
Actually, we're talking to 3 different companies, property management companies. And years ago, I read, and I've always followed the advice, that it's not good to name who you're talking to, because the people you don't select will be really upset. But they manage anywhere from about 450 to several thousand apartments. And so they're very well schooled in apartment management.
Are you able to?
Local.
And yeah,
That's where I was going. Are they
Yeah.
They're
local?
not national, they're a local
yeah,
company.
yeah.
Thank you.
And then we can springboard off of that, our design. I manage all my own apartments in Cedar Rapids. I've got my own management company, but we're not coming here. But we can springboard off of that is you're going to have a fob access. Outdoors are always locked, so people can't just come in. So you have a fob or a Prox card to get in to the perimeter of the building. And then each key will have a number pad, keypad secured, so their doors are locked at all times also. So the facility won't ever be open, and you can obviously the doorbell type system where you call and then somebody can code you in. That would happen too. But basically what we've learned in my facilities, we're trying to implement here in the products, a little bit stronger, higher end, like a quartz type counter, nice cabinets. We go solid core doors everywhere, just because we don't want it to be low quality. We want it to be something that's durable. Don't want to have to redo it every time somebody moves out.
Steve, while you're there, would you talk about the rates? We've talked market rate, but can you tell us what that looks like for
Yep.
Nevada?
Yep, studios, I believe, well, the lowest rate we're in our performer is about $900 and the highest is about $1,200. There are only, I think there's 9 studios, 45 1-bedrooms, and then the rest 6 are 2-bedrooms. That's approximately what's in the fact sheet, but and they vary in size all over the place. 400 square feet is the absolute smallest one, and I think it goes up to about 1,100 square feet on some of the corner ones. And most of the units are determined the size, not by the size we want, but by windows. We got to get windows into sleeping areas and things like that. So the fenestration of the building is what kind of determines what size it'd be. It's just, they all vary. They're going to be a whole bunch of different sizes.
What did you say about limiting occupancy in some of them? I didn't catch the exact number.
That was something that came up, I think it was Jordan's or the zoning fifth idea, somebody like that, saying, would we be able to limit the occupancy to a single occupant, because you could get a couple or that would take a 1 bedroom. You could get a couple and 2 children, even in a 2-bedroom, something like that. But we would expect most of the 1 bedrooms are gonna be a single occupant, so we don't have an issue with saying half the units need to be registered as only a single occupant, and therefore you're restricting it to 1 car on site. That takes away 30. Then you have 30 units that you have to talk about still for parking, that is. Just trying to address the concern of on-street parking.
I guess this kind of ties off of that a little bit, but how did you reach the total number of apartments of 60? I mean, was that due to the window decision or just kind of the existing floor plan?
To make it a viable project, you basically have to look at your costs and look at your income and what the market's gonna bear. 60 is just kind of what worked out and what got in there. The workforce housing grant is based on a per unit number. And so these are each sliding scales, and then the brownfields is a percentage of construction or percentage of cost number, and then it has a cap too. So it's an analysis of, okay, you can't just do 10 units, because then instead of $1 million for workforce housing, you're getting 150,000 or 300, whatever it is. And so it's looking at what's reasonable for size units and how do they lay out. Our target was more 1 bedrooms than 2s. That was our target. 1s lease up quicker and the people seem to stay longer. 2s, you get a lot of kids out of college that think they want a roommate, and then 6 months into it, they're fighting and they both move out into individual 1s, and you got an empty 2. So it's just history.
Will you guys have a security barrier between the residential piece of this and then the storage in the basement?
Absolutely. Storage, the residents that have storage downstairs will be able to get downstairs, get back upstairs. The people that would rent, like for record storage or whatever, would use that lower dock entrance, and they would not be able to have access to the stairs to get up, and the elevator would be locked off also. So,
Assuming they would have a fob
yep,
too.
only people that can get in that door would be the ones that have storage. And that gets cameras and recorded, and when you fob in, you're on camera, they know who you are, unless you stole somebody's fob, of course. But yeah, it's pretty tight, and it's you make sure you have plenty of cameras. Cameras are great for looking at what happened after the fact. They don't prevent a lot, but if people know they're there, they're normally a lot more conscious about it.
Council, anything else?
One of the criticisms of the project was we might not need any more housing in Nevada. What are your thoughts on that, or what do you anticipate your occupancy will be?
I know on a state level, the state says we need 20,000 new homes in Iowa. And I knew that through the derecho housing replacement grants that I won. I won 3 of the 5 that were issued in Cedar Rapids that I built. And that's where that number comes from in my mind. And I know that's been a little resolved, but we also know through the studies here and Brenda talking to local industries that you have companies here that are offering bonuses to people to live in Nevada, and people are wanting to do that and they can't find a home. And so they can't even take advantage of that. But I think Brenda has some specific numbers on that, but there are God's plenty studies that prove housing is needed in this area for sure.
Another issue that's come up is that this is an historic neighborhood and people concerned about the integrity of that historic neighborhood. Can you address that, please?
Yep. That's something that, like I said, we are not getting historic tax credits on this project. And that is another layer of tax credits that I do play in quite a lot. But we're looking at it as a historic building also. It was built in 1943, I believe, or started 50. You don't even remember, you were born then. So it's historic. Anything over 50 years is considered historic. And it does have historic features. So we're being cognizant of that, and we're not doing much to the shell itself. We are keeping the landscaping that's there and also supplementing it and adding to it. We want the green space. The roof is, like I said, good. The foundation's good. The interior is good. The windows will stay. Very few cases, I think we're adding a couple windows. I don't even know if we're still adding windows, I guess. But the outside of the building will get cleaned up, tuck pointing, restored, but it's going to stay looking the way it looks. And that's consciously decided to be that way. We're not going to put metal over it or side it or do anything to change the image.
Thank you.
Anything else? We can ask later. Nobody else has anything, then I'm gonna open it up to the audience, so to speak. Guess since those three guys are standing and Brenda, they're standing up there. If you wanna talk, just stand up where you're at. Talk loud, cause we're recording it. Would that be okay, Aaron, if they just stand up where they're at? But still state your name and your address for the record. And whoever wants to go first, please stand up and start. If anybody has any questions, now's your chance, cause these three guys are gonna know more about it than anybody. So.
And who knows, maybe we'll get some ideas on what we went into the project. Our goal is to make this appropriate.
Shane Heights, 1325 6th Street, sorry. I'd like to know if the amount of opposition here gives you guys any pause on this project at all. Because we had to beat these guys just a couple of weeks ago and then magically it popped back up again. We'll get into that later, but I just want to know if you guys have any. What's your thought on the amount of opposition from the neighbors in the community?
Well, we don't know everybody here is opposed to it. There might be one in favor. I don't know. I'm not. Perfect. I'm not, honestly not surprised. It's in any public meeting, the opposition comes out. Like I said, most of my projects, like I'll give Garfield School, for instance, in Cedar Rapids, there's a huge amount of opposition. I was able to buy the building. I went and I learned from the opposition and we made some adjustments. We also educated saying, no, it's not low income or addressed a lot of the concerns. And a lot of the opposition was answerable. A lot of it is just fear or NIMBY, not in my backyard type of approach.
But you can't turn down Surhawk.
What's that?
You can't turn down Surhawk. You can't turn down Surhawk. If somebody applies for Surhawk, and if you're gonna be building to current code, you will meet Surhawk guidelines.
You're talking about like Section 8 or whatever?
Yes.
No, you can. You can. I don't allow.
I knew that.
I accidentally own 300 apartments in downtown Cedar Rapids and we don't have any Section 8. And the
Somebody
reason,
applies for it, you have to take.
nope, you don't, because you can do your analysis on credit ratings. You can do your analysis on outstanding debts, rent history. All your analysis and your administration of your apartments is based on getting a good tenant that's going to be a good tenant, pay their rent. If somebody has bad history of paying rent, we're not gonna let them in. It's not a LIHTC or low-income housing project. It doesn't have any federal funding either, so we don't have any HUD requirements or any of that. It's just state funding, and it's meant for workforce. There are no restrictions for rent. There's no income restrictions for workforce. The intent is just to help us do a project that is less cost so we can keep our rents more affordable. But
Could you do it without the 2.5 million from the state and without our subsidies?
well,
Because that's where a lot of us are at.
yeah,
Because a lot of us have projects that we don't get subsidies for.
no, without the 2.5 million from the state, it wouldn't be viable. Nope. And that's why we went out, they were all both competitive. We wrote the grants for them and the state recognized this as a viable project that they wanted to support. That money is going towards housing. That's specifically what it's for. And it's meant to fill that gap that the state feels they have. And so by us doing this project, we're making them happy.
But not us.
Some of you, correct. I get it. Anybody else?
I have a question. My name is Ed Sobel. And I have a question, because we have repeatedly been told here that the project would be held to the city code of 2.5 parking spaces. And now in this document that came out, it says, anticipate the developer will request a variance because of the one bedroom. My question is how do you hold to that? So if you're gonna have three one bedroom or 4 one-bedroom open, and a couple applies, are you saying that you will deny that?
Yes.
And how, okay, all the one bedroom and all the studio?
Not
Or
all.
many?
I-
What percentage?
Whatever,
That's what that variance.
that's what I'm saying is we will agree to what makes sense. We can get to the 2.5 on site parking if we wanted to, but we don't want to. We want
Yeah.
grass.
You
No,
can't, not with the DNR watershed regulation, you can't.
I can. I can do stormwater detention underneath the parking lots. It's a geogrid system. I've done it in downtown Cedar Rapids. The Gazette Building has it. It's a law firm now. So I could get to 2.5, but I don't want to. I want to leave grass. But what I had offered as a suggestion was we can deed restrict, it can be written into the deed. So even if we sell it, this goes along with the property, that 50% of these units must be single occupant only. And in the application process, you have to require that. And so, yeah, if we have half the units leased to couples and half the units are vacant, it can only be a single person. And they are not allowed to have somebody move in. They would have to essentially relocate. Just like we can make that in the lease, yes. Yep.
And I've lived in the neighborhood when it was open stuff. And I have lived with F and G being completely, parked full.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily this project that I, as a homeowner, am concerned about. It is the number of cars and the parking issues and traffic. And I would respectfully disagree with some of what is in here about traffic, because I've lived in the neighborhood for a long time. So that parking is a huge issue. And I just don't know how you're gonna be held to that.
Yeah.
That's my concern, is that, again, it will change. You know, we've heard different things.
I believe we have now 131 on-site parking spots. And that's 2.18 per unit. Yeah, per unit. I would anticipate you're gonna have more of 1 to 1.5. So even at 1.5, you're gonna have 90 cars.
Single young person out of a trade school, and I'm gonna be an electrician, okay, and I have to have a trailer, or I have a work vehicle. That's 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Just or a boat.
Well, we can not allow trailers and boats in parking lots. That's, I mean, it would too.
Unless they have a work vehicle.
Or no, or they have to park their boat somewhere else. Yeah, he's volunteering his yard.
I'll find it.
Computers, oh, sorry, I live on 537 6th Street, it's right across the street. I do appreciate you coming out today, it's nice to actually see people faces of people who are working on this project. I would like to know, as far as signage, you're not planning on having any sort of lighted signage or anything like that, but we used to have the whole, hospital had a lighted signage, which is so bright in our window. If you could provide, the neighbors that are adjacent to this with, more information as you move along with the project, I think that would alleviate a lot of our fears. As you go along. I remember somebody mentioned that there was a letter that had been sent out. The only letter we had ever received is the one letting us know of the zonage change. That was the only letter we've received. So, and then my other question would be, as far as the management, the property management, are they gonna be on site? What is the recourse if we as neighbors have issue with, who do we contact, all that?
What works pretty effectively, and I don't know who does this, but creating a email or a mailing list or something like that. And Brenda, I don't know if you can do that. I've got an email list for one of my projects going on currently, and I send out drawings, and I send out updates, and I was able to field questions through that also. It's a big email, and a lot of people, I'll just answer individually, because I don't want to just fill everybody's boxes. But I'm fine with that, pushing information out. When a management company is selected, it will be local. He can't say, but I know he's looked at ones here in town. He's looked in Ames. I think Des Moines furthest one, but they would have a maintenance person or somebody on call. And there will be a 24-hour number no matter what too, that if there's an issue there, we want to know. You guys are, better eyes and ears if there's something going on there that we're not to, and, call the cops by all means. In my apartments in Cedar Rapids, you guys don't have canines here. We have free access to the canines. They just walk the halls randomly. And if they sit in front of a door and smell something, we get notice that somebody has contraband in there. We let them know, happens again, in the cops do. It's a great program. But it keeps the drugs out and, but I don't know why we wouldn't allow access for the police anyway. They'd have fobs or access to get in there because they're gonna need to get in there quick if there's something going on. Domestic's the worst thing you worry about, though. Fire doesn't need fobs. You guys have access. But that's not a historic building, that's newer, yeah. Yeah, we don't plan on changing that, we plan on cleaning it up and.
Painted a different color.
Yeah. No, we can, but literally, like, that's a comment that I will take back and we'll look at. I can look at that and see if there's something we can do. Because any material, you can change how it looks, we could address the windows, and we might be addressing the windows, because I think they're all up high. We might be bringing those down, I don't remember.
Another question about the storage, because that wasn't in originally, and then it got put in the zoning request. And in this document, it says to the first, and somebody mentioned record storage. How many outside entities? Besides, I mean, you're talking, makes sense to have a parking tab storage. That's more traffic.
Yeah, and it's climate controlled conditioned storage, and it just depends. I mean, I know the storage, I think we heard the storage units here that are around are pretty full. This would be meant for more smaller rooms, so it could be like records. It could be, mostly the tenants have their Christmas trees, but yeah, it could be more traffic to the loading dock, not in the parking, to the loading dock. But we can also control access or time of access and frequency too. Most of it gets stored and left.
How do you get around the storage ordinance when we're only allowed storage units in the railroad corridor in this town? Because when I tried to build storage units, I was told I couldn't because it was not gonna be located within the railroad corridor.
That would be.
Which is the one block surrounding the
Yeah,
railroad.
that would be a different zoning type regulation. That's an actual storage building, that's all it is. This is an ancillary.
Include storage, I was told I could not.
This is an accessory use to the main housing,
That's what
R2.
mine was gonna be, and I was told I couldn't do it. It wasn't in the railroad corridor.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with the project. I can come look at it for you.
Cause we have storage, it's not in the railroad corridor.
Huh?
We have storage in this town, it's not in the railroad corridor.
That's what I was told.
I know R&M, his
Hard no.
the ones behind R&M are, I mean, he's not there. Huh? Who
I
told
was
you that?
told, hard no.
Our last guy told you that?
Huh?
Our last guy told you that? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Your last guy caused a lot of trouble.
Yeah. We got a good one now, right, Ryan? Is Ryan back there?
Yeah, he's back.
Don't make me look bad, Ryan.
Yeah.
Anybody else, questions?
Walker, 708 Fifth Street, the former funeral home. Just to expand on some earlier questions about parking, I'm curious if tenants will have assigned parking slots that'll be enforced, and that'll help possibly limit the temptation for them to invite a dozen friends over for a party and that sort of thing. And second question would be, do you have an estimate on what the cost of the storage would be for those of us who might be interested?
You can handle that one, can't you?
Are you saying also like monitored parking? So like you'd have the management team would
If
monitor.
someone violates.
Yeah, it would be,
Like be
permitted. I don't know if it'd be assigned reserve, but they will be,
Stickers.
a hanger or sticker or something like that, so we know and we can actually.
Yeah, I think it'd be, from an administrative standpoint, it'd be pretty difficult to have a management company racing out in the parking lot and, say, wait a minute, you gotta move your car 3 spaces, but we'll have stickers, certainly. And on the other side, I hate to say this, but I forgot the question. I apologize.
Oh,
Cost of storage, there'll be a range, but it's probably, 80 cents to 95 cents a square foot. And there'll be we're modeling it off of what Ames space is for temperature control self-storage. And we'll look at that and refine it a bit further. There'll be quite a range of spaces too. So, there'll be ample opportunity to take, 5 by 5 to something substantially larger.
I'm showing like 85 square feet all the way up to like 300.
Yeah, food for first request at 600.
Right, yeah, I see that one.
Yeah.
The right of way parking up there. That's for anybody in the world to park in, right?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
That's what we did with there is basically trying to increase, again, because this sense, the meeting where we heard parking is concerned, we're trying to increase neighborhood parking, so.
Because you're taking away the neighborhood parking, because when you put that right of way parking in, you'll lose your street parking.
There's no street parking on Fifth Street already. But the
Or-
G Avenue, yes.
So you're gonna lose
3 spots.
And
So
then
I
the-
can park in that spot if I wanted to on that.
Technically, yeah.
Okay. No, you're not. Anybody can park there. That's city right away park. I'll make sure we know that.
G Avenue has electrical and transformers sitting there now where you got a parking lot there on.
Transformers, over a bit, but yeah.
Unless you more concrete over that electrical barrier.
Oh, yeah. They get to dig it up if they want.
How many units are in the white part of the building?
White
Not
part,
the old hospital.
I think 9, 10 maybe.
So the financing package that you had, if those weren't there, would you still be able to have a financing package? So 9 units is gonna make how many millions of dollars difference?
Well, it wouldn't, but, the state now that we have had identified a number in our grant request, it's not a negotiation of, we're gonna lose 9, so we just wanna shave off 12% or whatever the project, it's no, you're violating your contract. So that would be the issue.
Because I think people in this room, and I talked to quite a few of them.
You guys think that building's
If you
ugly?
cut off that part of the building, put your parking on there and your green space on there, and use the original hospital as your housing unit for 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, I think you would have a lot easier chance of not offending everybody in this room.
Okay.
And my brother was in that hospital when things being built now. Are you telling me that that's the worst part of the hospital now?
The center core is the worst part of the hospital, not the clinic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main
hospital be torn down.
It's not beyond repair, no. Okay.
What do you do with the people in the tornado?
Yes. That building's pretty sound, and yes, that entire nursing home side is a concrete block construction, with masonry on the outside. Basement though is definitely where we'd go,
It will be elevator access.
yes.
How many outside, I couldn't tell by your drawing. I tried. How many outside accesses to the building that would, if I rented, would my Q fob get me in? Is it on each side of the building? Is it on the indentations? Is it on the front side?
No, I think that your father worked at all of those, I believe there's about 6 entrances that you could get in. So you wouldn't have to go to the front door, you can park at a parking spot and get a entrance nearest to your apartment. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Noah Dieters, 537-6. I just wondered, are you gonna do like in-unit laundries? Is there gonna be an on-premise laundry?
There are.
I couldn't tell from.
Yep. There are, multiple, in or on-premise, like smaller laundry rooms, and there are some in-unit if we could fit. Like some studios, no, but there are, laundry rooms inside there. I would anticipate that, tenants can use those or with an app for free and not pay for it. But
Would you be able to provide a more detailed drawing that has?
It's in there, but you just can't see it. Yeah,
labeling
if
or-
I email it, you can blow it up or whatever, and you can see that, but yeah. Yeah, you can see refrigerators, stoves, everything.
So this is in lieu of a site plan?
Yeah, that is the current proposed site plan. We would get civil involved with the project moves, but this is the concept.
But there's no elevations or anything to go with it?
Oh.
Really?
Sir?
Hey, Sam Walter, 1023 9th Street. And heard a lot about this issue debated over the last few weeks just around town, so I'm glad to get more details on it and everything, but I just thought I'd share that, you know, some of the concerns I've heard about sounded really valid, and I appreciate everyone taking a really close look at it. But it was affordable rental housing like this that brought me to Nevada. It was a big part of allowing me to come and become a physical therapist here, and so I appreciate you guys working through the issues and everything, and I do hope that we can see kind of the value of having more affordable types of rental properties as a stepping stone for new folks to move into this community. Creates a lot of opportunities for folks.
No, I've had conversations with all the major employers in the community. So the Nevada, so the Nevada Economic Development Council has investors, some are in the room here, and almost every major employer is an investor in the organization. So as we were conducting a study, what I would tell you is you look at your largest employers, it's 10 to 33% that work in Nevada and live in Nevada. And those are your major employers. I did ask the school district. The hospital is in the 10 to 33%. Elmaco, Mid-States, Verbio, Elmaco, Burke are all in the 10 to 33%. The school district has the highest percentage of people that work there and live in Nevada. But even after seeing those numbers and those zip codes, there's still 93 people that you employ at the Nevada School District that do not live in Nevada. And so as the NEDC, one of the things we do when we put together a plan is listen to our business and industry. And the top issue for them right now is we've got people that want to live in Nevada that don't have options in Nevada. I'm not here to tell you this is the sole answer to that. And in all reality, we're having a housing study done, and we'll have those results here in May. But we really need a number of different types of housing. And that study will involve an actual official kind of current number from each of the employers. So I have talked to all of them I rattled off, and I got their numbers. And again, it's astonishing how many people work here that don't live here.
You asked if they want to live here, another 60%?
Yes, those employers have said, you bring the Capstone project and other projects, and we'll gladly let them talk to our employees. Because we know they want to live here, and we want them to have an opportunity to have more options to live here. So yes, that's our numbers, and again, would every one of them to say, yeah, sure, we'd want to live there, but there is a good portion of them that we know would want to live here.
Do you have comparable data on that in similar communities like Huxley or Story City or Rolling Around?
You know, so what's unique, Luke, to Nevada is Nevada percentage wise is one of the, when you look at the population of around 7,000, we have a lot of jobs in the community of Nevada. So if you look at a Huxley or you look at a Gilbert, We've done some analysis on the housing starts and the number of units that have went into those communities. They just don't have the job base that we do. I'll share some Huxley numbers with you. They were astonishing to me. So from 2014 to 2022, we had 91 single-family housing units put up here in the community of Nevada. The Flummerfelt properties are considered owner-occupied homes, even though they rent space for those homes. I've asked Mike and Matt to produce the numbers so that I know how many of those 91 were in one of the Flummerfelt neighborhoods. So we'll have that information soon. The community of Huxley, also 9 miles from Ames, put up 448 housing units. And so we are getting outpaced in Nevada. We're working really hard to attract new jobs, keep the jobs that we have here. And we're just not, the housing study that we had done in 2021 showed us 500 short with a pretty minimal population growth to get to that number. So
Huxley is aimed, or Huxley is aimed.
Huxley is
That's
9 miles from Ames. And
Huxley is aimed. That's why they're growing as fast as
Yep.
they're growing. It has nothing to do.
And
with-
so I'm just saying in terms of kind of general communities within Story County, just having to use numbers, it's hard to find a like community to Nevada because of the number of companies and jobs that are here. And so it's pretty unique. That's probably one of the reasons that attracted this team is that we have growing industries and we're attracting others. So we know we have workforce here that needs housing, and the state has supported almost every one of those expansions. And so the state's also aware that we have job growth here and need housing to support that.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming tonight because my biggest fear is that building being vacant for years and falling apart. I've talked to these folks and I know they'll have access for emergency services through our Knox Box program. They'll have a complete sprinkler system and all of the occupancy, storage, and residential because they exceed 16 units. They'll have a complete fire alarm program. The fact that you're locking your facility speaks volumes because our hotel we renovated and turned it into single family homes, single room homes. We've added kitchenettes in there. We've added a sprinkler system and we have very few calls for service there. 919 6th Street is probably the best example of a locked facility and a tight run management program. And that management program, that building rarely has calls for service. 925R used to be a real problem. It's now a locked facility under different management, very few calls there. So the fact that you're able to have those communications with us, we appreciate that. And I don't live in that community. I live farther north, but I can tell you that I appreciate what you're doing for that building. And I think it's going to be critical that you maintain that dialogue. Thank you.
So the last housing needs assessment done on the whole county and individual communities. Ames was not included on the Story study. If you wanna, the Story County Studies on the county's website, it's easy, just search by it. It was done in 2021. And so a month or so ago, the council took action along with the NEDC to fund a new study because we have had project activity. We have had job growth in the community. And so we'll have a new study that will roll out hopefully in May sometime. So, but that's what I would share at this time. Yeah, yeah. Yep. What? Mhm. Well, and again, I have to look at it. I don't recollect that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar with that part of the study. Like I said, it's 110 pages long, so. But again, that'll be certainly something that, again, we're gonna have a study that's done specifically on Nevada, and we'll have those results in May.
We're down to 5 minutes. Does council had any comments, questions inspired by the conversation, or I just want to make sure you guys are addressed with it's your work session.
Anything?
It was well done, thank you.
I guess I do have a little bit of one. Sorry, I don't,
Go ahead. Henry.
yeah, I'm just curious on, and you've kind of iterated on it a little bit, but what those initial conversations, I mean, how did you learn about the project? What was it that stood out that made you want to make that connection with the hospital and make the connection with the community? I mean, what was kind of that point?
Yeah, Mike can speak to that. We're not sure who else they've reached out to when they're trying to dispose of this building. We just know when we got involved, but Mike, you're the one that brought us in.
Yeah.
To this. Thank you.
Well, it was a long journey to get here, I'll say that. I was looking at a property in Boone, and I managed to speak to Brenda about it. She asked if she could join the tour. Denny and Steve also joined that tour. After we looked at that building, Brenda mentioned the hospital and asked if we'd like to look at it. And we did, and all of us kind of saw the same thing. It was a great opportunity to build an exceptionally nice apartment building that, among other things, is within walking distance of downtown. So it would help the town substantially. It would be a benefit to our residents because they, would have the opportunity to walk downtown. And just the configuration of the grounds of the campus just begged for a conversion. Kind of short and sweet. That's how we got here, but it was a long journey. So.
Council, anything else? Okay, and one last question. We got one. If no, we're gonna end this work session then. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thanks, guys, for coming and
Appreciate it.
and being around. And council, does anybody need to take a quick break? Okay, quick 2-minute break.
We're not opposed to continuing this dialogue if the project does successfully move forward.
Okay.
Have a neighborhood
Yep,
meetings.
absolutely. That's totally up to you guys. I know that we will have discussion on putting it back on the agenda to move. So if you want to, you can.
Won't be no questions, opportunities then, right?
Probably, I mean, if they didn't ask you now, I don't see
No.
what they'll ask you later. You guys don't want to stay. That's totally up to you guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
Very helpful.
I just.
Yes.
It's my age, but it's fine.
Thanks for rotating that image too. That was kind of crazy. It's like the Lord isn't at the top, what's wrong? But that's just the way it was scanned, right?
No. The other way. It's a bit better stuff.
Exactly. I wasn't.
No.
Hey, run, Brian. You're not about to start now, are you?
Maybe, but it's on site, so.
Yeah.
When you find it like that. I mean, that's important.
So much better than.
Well, I wasn't part of that message. I read.
No. Sorry.
Nope, just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, you gotta identify the conflicts. Ask Sandy, I had to send her an Instagram about that once.
We lost the game the other day.
That's why I was asking.
You know, yeah, I told Leslie.
Sorry.
That's what I told Leslie the other day. I said, you know, these teams are just.
Sorry.
And then we go in and just play like shit for a while.
We didn't want to be Brian.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Have to.
Well, then I told Samuel, you know, we were watching.
I can't abstain,
Everybody
so.
plays their prospects. I mean, you'll get the number one guys,
I know.
kind of,
So.
it'll, in and out, get a few innings, you know, like,
Slowly build them up.
no. They want to maybe get an at bat or throw one.
Pitchers are getting their arms stretched.
I appreciate that.
Wells was catching the first inning of the Yankees game. In the second inning, he was out.
Yeah.
In the fourth inning, he came back in because they brought in this. Because he kind of runs the game, you know, they wanted Wells to catch it just because of that whole, you know, catcher pitcher inning.
Ever done a workshop?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just all over the place. And
Better
it's
sit
like,
down.
I like to watch spring league and
But like,
But it's like, who's that guy?
For example.
You know, but- yeah, yeah. Yeah.
What's gonna be on the next agenda?
What time you thinking?
Questions, Want to know information, something we want. Good way to do it, yeah.
9:30?
Especially as much.
Does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, so
See you then.
I know, you guys kind of reserve that for your ad hoc committees and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar thing, but it's just not.
I'm gonna have to strike.
Oh, nice.
Because of this.
Wait a minute, stop in advance.
6C.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
It's old.
Well, I blood pressure was pretty high in the summer. It's been borderline, so like it spiked from there. And I thought the story never would do tomorrow morning. And I came this afternoon, I'm going to have, hey, you know that highly stressful situation thing and I don't see much future with that. It's working a little bit for the side. Starting to wear off a little bit now, and I'm like, that's that guy.
So
Take another one.
so he contacted me. A friend of mine, who's a name, that's friends with him, contacted me.
Okay, let's go.
You ready?
We ready,
Mayor?
we ready.
Mayor.
We ready.
3.
Yeah.
Call the order.
Let's go.
2.5 by 5 and made 11-foot long screen.
Go Yappa, come on. I know this is your last one. Come on.
Oh, your peeps.
Yep.
I'm gonna call this meeting to order on Monday, March 10th at 7:04. Can we have a roll call, please?
Melissa Music.
Here.
Henry Corbin.
Present.
Dane Nielsen.
Here.
Jason Sampson.
Here.
Steve Skaggs.
Here.
Sandy Airy. Here.
We have approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
I've got Dane and Jason. Any discussion? Vote? Agenda is approved. Looking for approval of consent agenda.
Move
Anything
to-
can be removed for separate consideration.
Move to approve.
Second.
Sandy and Melissa, any discussion on the consent agenda? Please vote. That passes, and we're gonna move into the public forum. This is time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business, other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. This is an opportunity of members of the audience to bring to the council's attention any item not listed on the agenda. Comments are listed 5 minutes or less. This is the time to ask questions, exchange. The mayor has the authority to reduce the time if allowed. Anybody, I'm gonna commandeer the public forum first. We should have our Public Arts Advisory Commission update. You want to step up to the podium and names for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Wade Presley, and I'm here with the Public Arts Advisory Commission. And with me tonight are Jan Gammon, Mindy Buck, Jason Snyder, and other members of our group include Nancy Port and Dylan Jacobson. And Sandy Eric is a non-voting member and advisor. And our Public Arts Commission is just here this evening to give a summary of what we have been doing in about the last 14 months, a year plus a little bit. And we'll welcome questions after I kind of summarize what I passed around to the group. I just wanted to start with our mission statement, and that is something that we developed in the last 14 months, and it just simply says supporting the arts in Nevada as an effort to promote our city's unique identity through engagement with artists and local stakeholders working together to enrich public spaces. So that is kind of our overarching thought as we're looking at moving forward and taking input in. Essentially, you can see our history there. I won't just literally read from that portion, but if you want to delve into some of the dates and details, this Public Arts Commission was created through an ordinance or an order and an order. Our first order of business was to create the mission statement, and our ordinance, the ordinance was March 27th. Our first meeting actually took place in January of 2024, and we've been meeting every month since then, and working on a variety of topics around public art, creating some information on how to make that decision-making process fit the community, and also taking in ideas of public arts groups that are both in the surrounding area and across the country, just as folks are traveling. And we did pay a visit. 3 of us traveled to Marshalltown, who's had a public arts group for quite a while. And they took us around their city of Marshalltown. And if you haven't had the opportunity to travel around the entire city of Marshalltown, outside of their very well-known downtown, they have some really fantastic pieces of public art scattered throughout the community, especially in the area near the VA building. And then on the east side, there's some really interesting public art that's there. So I just invite you to go take a look at that. So that kind of gave us some direction on how to move forward. They have quite a few pieces there. So we've been working on how to get some of that going here. And currently we do have a project that has had some forward motion involving the Main Street Nevada district, and a location that would be on the building on the north side of what is currently the Main Street Nevada building, that is also connected with State Bank and Trust, and that is their property. They're working on a general kind of renovation, but we have a mural project that's looking at the wall that's there on the north side as our first mural. And so we're currently securing funding for that, and probably at a future city council meeting, we'll give another update when we have some more specifics. But we are working toward a grant from the Iowa Council for the Arts and securing funding for that. And what's really exciting is that that project was really brought to us from Leadership Nevada. There was a group last year that was looking for a project, and that was something that they came to us saying we're interested in it. And that is something that we jumped on. And even though that leadership Nevada class has finished or graduated, we still have their assistants. Tyler Davis was on that committee. He works at State Bank, and he's just been our contact there to say, hey, keep that partnership kind of in the loop. And Aaron Mosel was another member of that Leadership Nevada group, and a couple others. So that is what we're working toward, and we're hoping to get something going this spring in time for hopefully a public reception around Lincoln Highway Days time. Nothing has been secured. There have just in the process of calling something called a call to artists, to basically say to artists, this is something that we're working on. Are you interested? And then getting actual design ideas from that. We have no designs in mind, but we are going to work with the folks at the Main Street Nevada board, because it is their building, and just make sure that we're working with all the groups that will be involved in this. And so on the back side of this, you can see our general current project timeline, and then I've listed some partners, and I'm sure I haven't included everyone, but just to see kind of how we are making this a truly public endeavor. And I myself or the group can take any questions that you may have.
I just want to thank you guys for your effort that you're putting into this. This is going to look really nice. I love seeing the public art, especially downtown.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. And girl. Now we are gonna swear in a new officer, Brock Davidson. Chief Brandis, do you want to say anything first?
Hello, thank you for all coming out for the swearing in. Like to introduce Brock Davidson to the council. So Brock comes to us with a certification already through Polk County. They certify all their courthouse employees. So he went through 2 to 3 years ago, I believe. He's worked for Polk County and worked for ISU and is coming to us as certified, so he's able to start right away. Brock's originally from the Elkhart area, going to high school at North Polk. He has his associates through DMAC in criminal justice and is established in Ames. His wife Courtney is here, and her parents Todd and Karen all live in Ames. So happy to have him on board and ready to get him started in training.
Okay, all right, I'm just not. I'll do it without. Okay. You have to work with me here for a minute, Brock. A little slow. Nope. Ain't no laughing. Okay, raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear. Let's start over. State your name. I, Brock Davidson. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Iowa. The Constitution of the State of Iowa. And the City Code of the State of Iowa. And the City Code of the State of Iowa. And I will faithfully and impartially. And that I will faithfully and impartially. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. Discharge all the duties of police officer. Discharge all the duties of police officer. For the city of Nevada, Iowa is now or forever required by law. For the city of Iowa as now or hereafter required by law. Congratulations. Everybody, Brock Davidson. Now we can finish the public forum. If anyone wants to speak, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. I do have a couple yellow slips. We'll start with Dorian Meyer.
No.
About zoning.
Yeah, so that'll be under the next.
Okay, we'll wait till zoning then.
One sec, Dorian. We'll wait till we get to the zoning part. Then
Wait till we get to the
Sorry.
zoning part. Sorry,
We jumped the gun.
I get way ahead. Rick Martinez wants to talk about homelessness. Yeah, I know.
Good evening, Rick Martinez, 255 West E Avenue. I bring up the issue about homelessness because I know that's a big issue going on in Ames right now. And I've talked to several officials over at Ames about where this problem's coming from, that sort of thing. And a lot of the input I'm getting from them is the metro area has addressed the homeless issue quite a bit lately and for the last few months. And so many of them are coming up to the Ames area. And my concern is that in my tenure here, off and on, we had some issues with homelessness, but it wasn't an issue like it is in Ames. And I'm afraid that people that are not going to be able to stay there are going to come here. And I think that if the council hasn't thought about this yet, they should consider it, maybe do some research and figure out what do we need to do to be more proactive in addressing these issues when they do come. Now, having said that, that sugar cube that's down the street that we don't put people in is going to be attracting people that need a place to stay. So whatever the council decides to do with their zoning and whatever business, housing, whatever goes in that building needs to go in that building. It can't be empty. I know that both Chief Reynolds and Chief Brandis have talked about this. They have all kinds of information and experience in dealing with these kind of issues. Whatever they say, don't think the sky is falling from them because it's going to happen. 39 years of law enforcement, I know that stuff happens, and that's what's going to happen here if the problem isn't addressed. So take a look at the homelessness issue and do what you can. Try to get ahead of this before the problem does take place. And lastly, the council's positions are tough. You guys have to make some pretty tough decisions, and most of the time, they're kind of no-brainers. All the information is put in front of you. You get all the facts. You can make some decisions that are pretty easy. But every now and then, you get a tough one. And that's what you got now. You've got a lot of emotion. You got a lot of people upset about this whole thing. I get it. I understand. I can't say that I wouldn't feel any different than them. But you guys have to make some decisions that are not only going to affect us in the short run, but in the long run. So think about that. And make those hard decisions. People put you in those places to make those decisions. Make them. And I'm sure your phone's ringing off the hook and you're getting emails and text messages and bump into people on the street. I get it. But that's why you're in those seats. Make those decisions. Oh, yeah.
I will address the homelessness thing that Rick brought up. And I don't remember if the last meeting or meeting before, I was gone for a little few weeks, that at the last emergency management meeting at Story County, which is all represented by the mayors of all the communities in Story County come to it. We made an agreement we decided that the homeless thing is kind of an emergency thing. You know, we tried to decide, is emergency management, is that something they need to dive into? And we decided the answer to that was yes. So in the April meeting, the next meeting is April, they're going to take a deeper dive into the homeless and what do they do? What do we do, you know, in light of these bad situations we've had with some homeless people in Ames in the last few months, you know, passing away and that sort of thing. That Story County Emergency Management is going to do a deep dive. You know, all the mayors, we agreed that it needs to be done. Like Rick just said, it's not really a big deal here now, but it's sure gonna be. You know, it's like everything else that is in town now that we didn't ever think we were gonna have. And so he's right. I think we'll, as a council, we'll have to eventually address it, but we'll see what emergency management has to say about it. And I suppose they'll come up with a plan and want certain communities to do certain things. So just a little FYI for everyone sitting here. That's kind of where Story County's at on it. Anything else? Anybody? Anyone else in the public forum want to speak on anything? Nothing? Okay, we're gonna move to old business A. 6A, consideration to reintroduce zoning ordinance number 1064-2024-2025. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Nevada, Iowa by rezoning the property at 630 6th Street from R3 to R4. Multiple family dwelling district. This would be this would not be approving it.
Bring this vote first, and then
Yes.
if it passes.
Okay. All right. I was just gonna explain to him that this isn't approving.
It is not a reading.
Rezoning.
It is not a reading.
It's not a reading.
No,
It should-
just to bring it back to the table.
Yep, just to bring it back to the table. So, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Dane and Steve, any discussion? No discussion, please vote. Did something?
Yeah, Dorian wanted to.
Yeah,
speak.
Dorian had a.
Oh, yes, go ahead, well, she can still speak. Yeah, go ahead. Did we vote? Did everyone vote?
Yep.
That's all right, Dorian, you get up and speak.
Dorian Meyer, 622 Fifth Street, Nevada. I'm afraid what I have to say may be unpopular, but I am hurt and angry. I feel that this project is being rammed down our throats, that the fix was in from the beginning. We sell Capstone Group the old hospital property, hand them tax advantages, and in turn, the city will adjust zoning to make their project happen. The city is looking to rid itself of a problem and find an easy answer. Well, sometimes the right answer is the one that takes some courage. At the last meeting in this project, Mr. Skaggs says the crime was committed in the 1950s when your predecessors replaced a city park with a hospital building we are stuck with today. It was a wrong answer, but it was an easy one. Today, you have the opportunity to right that wrong, but it is not easy. I was always taught 2 wrongs don't make a right. The original meeting I attended introducing the Capstone Group and voting to allow them grants led me to believe this project was under consideration and nothing was written in stone. I was misled, perhaps unintentionally. The NEDC FAQs presented tonight do not mention any other options for this property. It simply looks at how to repurpose the existing structure and paints a dismal picture of what happens if the Nevada Flats project is not implemented. Likewise, the letter from Ray Reynolds predicting that with certainty gloom and doom. Personally, I would rather see the building fall in on itself than complete this misguided project. I have no letters from community officials with the crystal ball. I have no research or data on how my neighbors and others would be impacted by this project. I have no traffic study or population density study, but how do you quantify quality of life? There are some things worth a little extra expense, among them home, family, and community. I had hoped the announcement of a work session meant a brainstorming session, reimagining how to use this city block, that it might enhance Nevada. But when I read NEDC FAQ, I realize it's nothing more than an evaluation extolling the virtues of Nevada Flats. They simply stay the course, cramming this project into a neighborhood it doesn't fit because it's quick and easy. For 35 years, I could sit on my front porch and look at an ugly loading dock, dumpsters, hospital employees taking a smoke break. The CT scanner semi-truck jumps the curb and drives through my front lawn. I've carried groceries 1.5 blocks to my house because Life Flight has 5th Street blocked. My point is, I've paid my dues. I've dealt with inconvenience and even difficulties because it was for the greater good of the community. I thought when the hospital facility moved at last, in my retirement years, there could be something attractive across the street, something enhancing my neighborhood where my kids, when they go to sell my home, would attract buyers.
But instead, NEDC and Nevada City Council had other plans. Plans made without my input or my neighbors. I feel betrayed. After a lifetime of living and loving Nevada, the message I'm getting is you don't count. We want something quick and easy and a solution to the mess we're in. I remember when I was a child, there was a billboard on Lincoln Highway near the railroad overpass and the newer water tower. It said, "Welcome to Nevada, a city with vision." I asked my mom, "What is vision?" And she explains it was like foresight to anticipate events. City Council, please be a city with vision. Thank you.
I guess I do have something to say on this.
say.
Yeah, I voted on this, to have this conversation for, I really appreciate Capstone coming and speaking tonight, and I think it was a step at some communication and getting that out there. I do feel that should have been done earlier. It answered many questions I had. I would like to see some things happen between now and it would be the 24th for the 24th meeting. I would really like to see some communication from the developer to the neighborhood, to the neighbors, furthering that, discussing it. I know a lot of the information we had tonight, I appreciated, but I would like to see that grown upon, I guess, a little more context and detail to continue. I'm really looking to that and expecting that. Otherwise, my vote will still be the same as it was earlier. So I do believe that we should continue to look at reinvesting in this space. I believe it's something that is such a great opportunity to look at this space, but also I believe we need to look at the neighborhood and the district as a whole. I know we're looking at one thing and investing in it and the opportunity that comes with it, but I really think we should also be looking at I have a bet, there's probably a more eloquent way of putting it, but there are beautiful homes and amazing people in this community, and especially in that area. I mean, it was where Nevada started in many ways, was that square. And if history had been a little bit different, that would have been our town square. I mean, if, you know, just one decision had been different. So I guess I'm giving benefit of the doubt and an opportunity for a little more detail, a little more conversation. I hope that happens, and I expect those conversations to happen. And I know many of you in the neighborhood, I hope that you reach out, and I'll be reaching out to you to see kind of those conversations. But I really hope that that is something that we can get to have a little more detail and a little more discussions that way. So I just wanted to explain my vote on this one today.
I want to add, I know I had asked, I don't know if I was the only one, but I know I had asked for this to be put back on the agenda in part because I knew we'd be able to meet with the folks behind the project and get their answers on it and get some of that information and answer a lot of the questions, which I think they fortunately did. Typically in a lot of high temperature debates like this one, the people who are upset or in opposition tend to show up. And due to the temperature of the debate, a lot of folks tend to keep their comments to themselves or reach out after the fact and say, we would like to see you support this whatever the subject is. In this case, obviously Capstone. I did have some of those calls reach out, so that's in part why I pushed to have this on the agenda tonight. So again, I do want to thank the Capstone folks for being here and for this being on the agenda. And there will be 3 readings and a public hearing, which is the next agenda item.
Anyone else? Okay, we already voted, I guess.
It passed.
Did it pass? Okay. So that passed, so we'll go to 6 sub A, little a. Resolution number 069-2425, a resolution setting the time and place to conduct a public hearing to amend the zoning ordinance of Nevada, Iowa. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
Sandy?
Second.
Dane? Any more discussion on that?
I would just say, we have to amend the zoning as I interpreted it, regardless of what project goes there. It has to be amended, and that's all that we're doing with this ordinance.
That is correct. Anything else? Please vote. That passes. That'll move us on to old business 6B, ordinance number 1066, 2024-2025, and ordinance amending chapter 69, parking regulations of the city code to add snow and ice emergencies. This is the third and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Steve and Melissa, any discussion on that? I don't see any discussion. Please vote. That passes. That moves us on to 6C, discussion of appropriate follow-up regarding the display edition at Chambers, and we're gonna have to table that and bring that back.
We can just remove it.
Okay, we'll just remove it. Just remove that from the agenda then, and that's gonna move us on to 6D, a resolution number 070, 2024-2025, a resolution to approve order regarding vicious dog. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Jason and Dane. Discussion. Did we have that down? Anyone want to speak on that?
Yep, the copy of the proposed order based off of the hearing that you had at the last meeting is in the packet. If there were revisions, we can certainly make those, otherwise it'll be prepared for mayor to sign.
Any other discussion, anyone? Okay, please vote. That passes. That'll move us on to old business. 6E, approved pay request number 34 for wastewater treatment facility improvements. Phase 3 for Boomerang Corp in the amount of $0.
Move to approve.
Second.
Melissa, DeKay, Dane, and Melissa. Tom Russell. Any discussion on that?
It'll let her have it.
Does everyone understand why we're not paying, why it's on zero?
Yeah.
Like it
Yes,
was,
we do.
don't they? Okay, then please vote. That passes. That moves us on to old business 6F. Resolution number 071, 2024-2025. Resolution to provide for a notice of hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of costs for the West Indian Creek project, Project A, and the taking of bids therefore.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jason and Henry, any discussion on that? Seeing no discussion, please vote. That passes. That'll move us on to old business 6G. Resolution number 072, 24-25, a resolution to provide for a notice of hearing on proposed plans, specification, form of contract, estimate of cost for the tributary to Indian Creek project, Project B, and the taking of bids therefore.
Move to approve.
Steve
Second.
and Sandy, any discussion? No discussion, please vote. That passes. That'll move us to new business 7A. Approve the purchase of a zero-turn mower for the cemetery. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Melissa,
Second.
Jason? Anyone back there that need to speak on this mower purchase or?
Hey, Tim, is there a reason why we only got one return bid? I meant to ask you ahead of time.
You know, it's typically that way, Jason. John Deere is just very competitive, with their government program. And just, you know, we send it to try and get good quality product from bidders.
Okay.
People just haven't been able to compete.
And they know better to even bother trying.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Council, please vote. That passes. It moves us to new business 7B. Approve the purchase of the lab equipment for the new wastewater treatment plant.
Move to approve.
Jason?
Second.
Which option are you?
Which option?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, if.
My bad.
God, there's more than one.
There's option A
One.
for 23, 427.95 and
Option one.
The
Okay.
cheap one. I figured, I just wanted.
Yeah.
Option one.
The less expensive and more.
Complete.
Okay, so option one.
Yes, and.
Any discussion? Harold, we got anything to say about that?
No, just other than this, it'll be equipment that'll go in the lab out there and it'll be for us for daily monitoring. Because the ditch will require more
Okay,
monitoring and keep track of things.
okay. Council, anything else? No discussion, please vote. That passes. That moves us on to reports. Start with our city administrator.
So several meetings this last week or a couple of weeks, Lincoln Highway Days meeting. We're gearing up for that again this year. I'll let Jason touch base on that a little bit more. Foundation.
I'll let Melissa do it.
Melissa, okay. Foundation, design, lift station and all that. Mike, talk a little bit more about the lift station. We have moved those to weekly meetings, so I'm glad that we are moving that up and making that a weekly basis because it's something that we've been waiting to get done for a very long time. And I know we are starting to get impatient and so is the other contractors for the actual facility itself. So the other thing, the Federal Railroad Association will be in town tomorrow to review all of our safety measures that we have in place. So Joe and I will be meeting with them, going to each one of our quiet zone areas. One of the things he did mention when he was here back in November that we did need to switch some of our safety measures around. Currently, they're all SSMs, which are supplementary safety measures. And we need to switch some of them around to alternative safety measures. So we'll still be in the quiet zone. There's just different parameters that we have to switch over to in order to qualify for that. So once he is able to share that information, we'll figure out what we need to do that. And then I will write a letter to ask for an amendment of our current safety measure procedures with that.
Anyone got anything for Jordan? Nothing? Mayor's next. I don't have anything. I'm good. Council, your turn. Council have anything?
I would like to thank Melissa and Brian for your service in this chamber. I'll jump the gun. I know you've got stuff to talk about with Lincoln Highway Days, but Melissa, you've done a great job serving this community the last year. Really appreciate you filling that seat. We're gonna miss you. Brian, obviously, we've had you in here a long time in different roles, but again, appreciate you stepping in and filling the mayor the last couple months. So thank you, guys.
Lincoln Highway Days. The Lincoln Highway Days is we're we've got some really cool stuff coming this year. We are bringing back carnival, kind of like carnival. So we're gonna have like some blow up things for kids to play on. It's gonna be a climbing wall. There's gonna be a new, what's the
Mechanical
thing?
bull,
Huh?
mechanical bull.
A mechanical bull. And then what's
Jousting.
the things that?
Jousting.
Jousting. There's a variety of different things that we've got, and we're gonna have a wristband, so it'll be easy for parents to be able to just, you know, send their kid to play all day. Yeah, and I will be your new person doing the parade, apparently. I got voluntold. So,
Go Melissa.
We'll have to talk.
Council, anything else?
Just that I am proud of the work of the art commission and I am still, even though it said I was a former, I'm still here. And happy to be part of that effort.
I'll echo Dane's sentiments. I appreciate you guys stepping up. Less of you than Melissa, because she's been here long. No, I appreciate you guys doing what you do. Not too many people volunteer to do what you guys are doing right now, or even try. Rather click their keyboards, so I appreciate you.
Okay, who's in the back? I don't know who we all got back there.
Yep,
Chief Randis,
get my report, but I'll answer anything about the department that I can.
any questions for Chief? Nothing? No.
Same, nothing, unless you guys have questions for me.
Anything for Mr. Hutton? Nothing?
I'm good.
Next, Tim's good. Yes. No, Marlis. Nothing for Marlis. Chief Randis.
Just real quick, thank you, Aaron, for helping with the burned properties. We've had 3 structure fires. We're using the code 515.139 to retain 10% of those properties after fire, because as evidence, 2 of our 3 have put their houses up for sale as is. And so in order to protect the city from having a burnt property and people walking away from it, this is an avenue for us to use that to protect the city, to make sure those properties become habitable again. So, thank you.
Anything for Chief Randis?
I have nothing to add for the wastewater other than the
Okay,
report.
wastewater, Harold, nothing to add. Looking for Harold, anyone? Nothing? Who's there?
Mike Roth.
Mike. Didn't see
If you have a report, if you have any questions related to the wastewater project, I'd be happy to answer them.
Karen?
Just a reminder, the next meeting, it'll start at 6, but that'll be the public hearing for the levy proposal. And then the regular meeting will start at 6:15.
Nothing, Karen? Nothing? Is there number 2?
I don't have anything unless there's questions.
Okay. Legal counsel.
You guys want a long report?
You suit yourself.
I got nothing. I'm good. You guys have been here a long time.
Anyone else? Looking for a motion.
move to
Adjourn.
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 God, I don't even know what you said.
So used to be doing it.
Second.
Second, Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight.
Thanks for the package. This is very helpful. Very helpful. I didn't want to say, I was on the league, I was on the panel at the leadership meeting. Last thing I told. The state of Iowa. Speaker.